feel like there's room at the table to eat. That's what I try to tell my, the folk coming up behind me. That's what I tell my students, man. It's like, you ain't got to, if you can't find a table to sit at, make your own table.
Yep.
And I feel like Southerners have made our own table. There's so much room here for folks to come and sit down and eat and experience, because it's the same thing that I say in my academic writing is what I think about in my cultural writing. It's like, the South's not a monolith. Everybody in the South don't experience it the same. Even in Georgia, what I experienced growing up in Albany is probably different than you coming up in Atlanta, than, somebody coming up in Columbus, somebody coming up in Rome, you know what I mean? So
definitely.
There's room, and I just pull up and eat. Like, that's ultimately what I want to be like, is pull up and eat. Like, we're not in competition with each other.
I'm Andre, and this is the Speak Your Life podcast, where we talk about everything as it relates to education, careers, values, mentors, and anything to do with purpose. We do this one impactful conversation at a time, whether it's solo dolo with yours truly or our amazing guests to share stories, industry insights, encouraging words, and calls to action that can help you get closer to your why. Become a part of the Speak Your Life community by subscribing today to the podcast and following us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Speak Your LYFE, because life without your why is meaningless. All right, today's the last day, the last official day of Black History Month, guys. So sad. But we always
Black History Month. What are you talking about?
But I'm excited for today's special guest because she graduated from Albany State University with her bachelor's. She graduated from Indiana University with her master's, and Florida State with her PhD in African American literature with a concentration on 20th century African American literature. Former Nasir Jones Hip Hop Fellowship at Harvard. She is now an assistant professor for English and African Diaspora Studies at Kennesaw State University. Author of Boondock Collage, Stories from the Hip Hop South. She's also been a speaker at TEDx Savannah and is the co-host for WABE's Atlanta's Choice for NPR's podcast called Bottom of the Map, a show about Southern hip-hop and its influence on American culture, especially in the southern region of America. Please welcome Dr. Regina Bradley.
I hate when we have to do these things, man, because it's like you're dead and they're like talking about you like you ain't there. But thank you for having me. How you doing?
She's well and alive, guys. I'm not talking about a dead person. This woman's alive. She's black. She's beautiful, and she's doing her thing. Welcome. How you feeling?
Thank you, love. That's so nice. They got that good Southern home training. He made his mama proud.
Southern hospitality. That's what it's all about.
I love it.
All right, you ready to speak your life?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So before all these amazing accomplishments I just listed, and it's, not polite to ask a woman for her age or what year she was born. So just tell us the era of the time in which you were born.
I'm not even ashamed yet. I'm not ashamed yet. I'm 36 years old. I just turned 36 in January. I still look 26 on some days. I don't know if today is the day and I'm 26, but it's cool.
Yeah. She got an Indiana sweatshirt on. She's looking like a college student. Got her chai tea on.
You know what I'm saying? I be trying to be great. You know what I'm saying?
Why do you try? You're just great. You don't try. You don't have to try.
Well, thank you, darling.
Wait, so is that almond milk or is that like regular milk in your chai tea?
I don't even remember. It's delicious. That's all I know is that it's delicious.
Because like the thing nowadays is like almond milk that people talk about, like, oh my gosh, I gotta get my chai tea with almond milk.
I mean, okay, I'm not there yet. I don't like judge for what grade of milk is the.
You don't have the avocado toast or nothing like that?
No, I'm good so far, but it's wonderful. It's divine. It's been really good. So
okay. All right, so bring us from your just beginning where you were growing up, and bring us all the way to where you are now, and tell us about when you were born and catch us up to why you were born.
Okay. So I'm a military brat. I was born in Honolulu, Hawaii. My mom was stationed in the Navy. Me, my brother, and my sister, we were all born in Hawaii. And we moved around a lot when I was little, from Beaufort, South Carolina, to Virginia Beach, to Alexandria, Virginia, Fort Belvoir, Virginia. So I, did a little bit of a travel thing. My dad's people are from Albany. And I would go and visit Albany like every summer, so it wasn't like I wasn't familiar with anybody down there. Like I had friends and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? 14, my mom and my stepdad split. I didn't want to stay with my stepdad. My mom was going on tour for a couple years, and so I called my grandmother and was like, I want to come move to Albany. And she graciously, her and my grandfather more than graciously, let me come and stay with them. So I get to Albany. I'm about to start high school. I'm 14 at this point. I'm starting to dabble in hip hop a little bit. But in the DMV, hip hop is whatever's playing in New York. So I was very New York centric in what I thought was hip hop.
Yeah.
I moved to the Benny. I'm trying to talk to these folks about this New York hip hop, and they looking at me like, shouty. We don't listen to none of that down here.
And for those of you who don't know, the Benny is Albany.
Albany, sorry. Yeah, it's Albany, Georgia. AKA
I found that out today.
AKA the Benny, AKA the field. So I had to do a reboot, not only socially and culturally, like literally had to do a reboot because nobody was checking for Wu-Tang and all of these folk. They was just like, we down here doing, Pastor Troy and 3 6 Mafia and Lil Jon and the East Side Boys and all of these. And I was just like, yo. So it was like a opportunity for me to acclimate myself to the South. Was using the music. Would go to the skating rink every Saturday night. You know what I'm saying? My folks was Christian, so it was like
church every Sunday.
If you go out Saturday night, you going to church Sunday morning. We don't care how late you get in. So I mean, like, growing up in Albany was an experience, man, and it was really great because on the one hand, everybody knew my folks. My folks were Mr. and Mrs. Eugene and Sarah Barnett. I always try to call their names whenever I can. They were among the first Black educators to integrate the Dougherty County school system. So everybody knew Mr. and Mrs. Barnett, which meant that I couldn't get in no kind of trouble because I'm Mr. and Miss Barnett granddaughter, which was a gift and a curse. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, and my dad also lived with us in the Benny. You know what I'm saying? Graduated from Westover 2002. Go to Albany State on a full ride.
Nice.
And just really start to live my life from there. It was just like enjoying the whole college experience, the HBCU experience, being able to travel, all these things. Do what every girl does in college, falls in love. Met my husband. He's my husband now, but he was my boyfriend then. And was trying to figure out, what does a relationship look like, and how do we function with this, and trying to decide, did I want to get married? Do I want to get married? And I did. I just had other things I needed to do first, like go to graduate school. So I end up in Indiana, which is another huge culture shock all over again, because it's the Midwest. They ain't had no Popeyes, you know what I'm saying? How you ain't got no Popeyes? Didn't have no R&B hip hop music station. Like the closest Black radio station was in Indianapolis.
Oh wow!
So
how far were you? How was Bloomington?
Bloomington's about an hour and a half from Indianapolis, give or take. But yeah, man. So it was like a whole new reintroduce yourself all over again. And finished the master's and decided to go do the PhD, and that's when I ended up in Tallahassee at Florida State. And the PhD was a lot. It was a lot. My father-in-law found out he was sick, found out that my grandfather was sick. And I think, it was a line for me to be somewhere nearby, me and Roy, to take care of them. So that was a blessing. Unfortunately, my grandfather passed October 2009 on my grandmother's birthday. You know what I'm saying? My father-in-law, Roy, passed February 2009. Me and Roy decided to get married July 2010. So it was a lot going on at that time. Fast forward to 2013, I graduate with the PhD. Can't find a job.
Wow.
Can't find a job. So I'm
educated and poor.
Yeah, educated and broke as hell. But yeah, so then it was like I was adjuncting at Kennesaw State, which is ironic.
Yeah.
And then finally get a job, but the job's in Savannah. And my husband is like, we ain't moving to no Savannah.
That's not gonna work.
You have to be from Georgia to really get his joke, but his joke was Savannah is just Tifton with water. Like, you have to be from Georgia to get the joke. But he was like, I'm not moving to Tifton with water. And he's from Valdosta, like he bougie. You know what I'm saying? He is from Lowndes County.
That's not much different. Yeah.
He feel like he from Atlanta because he went to Morris Brown. So we gonna give him that. But I'm like, sir, you just as country as I am. Go sit down somewhere. So I end up, taking the job in Savannah because I need it. Student loans don't care. I'm Dr. Bradley. They like, that's wonderful. Pay us our money back. So get in there, and then I'm commuting every week. I get up on Monday mornings at 3 o'clock in the morning to get on the road at 4 o'clock in the morning to teach at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I remember hearing that on one of the stories you shared on
man,
bottom of the map.
For like 2 years, you know what I'm saying? Wasn't really taking care of myself. And finally, some things started to break. I did the fellowship at Harvard, which allowed me the opportunity to work on Boondock Collage and also on this Outcast book that I've been working on. And finally get a job at Kennesaw, and now I'm just able to do what I want and not have to be on the road for 8 hours a month or a week, 8 hours a week. Ooh, it's a lot. It don't seem like a lot, right? But I'm like, when you're driving it become a lot.
Wow. How many podcasts did you listen to going back and forth?
A lot of podcasts. I think that was the only good thing about going on 16. Like 16, there's nothing there. Once you leave Macon, Georgia, there is nothing after that until you get to Savannah. You know what I'm saying? So listen to a lot of podcasts, listen to a lot of music. Like, that's when I got to listen to new music. I felt like that was when I was really able to catch up on things. Yeah. Because I had nothing else to do.
Yeah, Drake, the Migos.
All of them folks, man. But I also listen to some of my old school favorites, you know what I'm saying? I'm still, even though I've written about them extensively, I'm still a diehard Outkast fan, you know what I'm saying?
I know.
So, I remember having Liberation on repeat, multiple trips, multiple days, trying to keep myself, willing myself to keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, I was bumping into some Miss Jackson on the way here. I was like, I had to go back and play some music just to all right, let me get get myself in the mood, because I know that's your thing. You love Outkast. And even though I appreciate it, I'll have to be honest, it's not my favorite, top favorite, even though Andre 3000 is that's my nickname.
Oh really? That's your nickname?
Yeah. Growing up, people would be like, so you're Andre the Giant, but not really, because you're short and small, or you're like Andre 3 Stacks. So I'm like, I'll take that one. I'll take 3 Stacks. You ain't gotta go there. Okay.
So,
so how would you say, or what would you say, if there was three pillars of the top hip hop artists of all time, who would be in that top three?
For me?
And why?
I'm thinking. I did nothing have. I'm thinking. It's just in hip hop. Let me see.
It can be Southern hip hop or just, I don't know.
I mean, Outkast is a duo. They go together for me. I don't understand why they try to break up Big Boy and Dre. Yeah. They go together. They're on that one pedestal together. Before he started opening his mouth, I was a huge fan of T.I. I was, my dad died December 2004, and I was listening to Urban Legend on repeat just to get out the bed every morning. So T.I. has a really special place in my heart in terms of helping me get through grief. But he was up there. I don't know. I might have to take his pedestal back because he just that stupid stuff. You know what I'm saying?
I take it you don't listen to his new podcast, Expeditiously.
I expeditiously do not. I mean, she's new, but I love Rhapsody. I love me some Rhapsody. And he don't really do it like he used to, but I love SYL too. But again, these folks it's becoming increasingly difficult to enjoy artists when you know they personal stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, old CeeLo, Beautiful Skin, Goody Mob CeeLo, man, again, so many things got me through. But off the rip, that's what I'm thinking about. You know what I'm saying? But quiet as it's kept. Yeah, I'm a Southern hip hop scholar, but I'm like a diehard R&B fan. Like,
Really?
yeah, like Drew Hill is like my favorite group ever. They're not unsung. People. Just TV One getting on my nerves.
Okay.
So I just wanted to set that record straight.
Set the record straight. You said it. We set it straight right now here at Urban Grind, guys.
Yeah, man. Drew Hill is not unsung, but yeah, Drew Hill was mine. Drew Hill and 112, man.
Yeah. Wow. And okay, so all these people you just listed, why? That was the second half of the question.
What had happened was, so
got him.
I've loved Drew Hill since the first album. Like, I can't explain it. Like, April Showers, when I was a young teenage girl, I thought that was the most romantic song ever in life.
Yeah.
I'll put Usher in there too. I had two phases of Usher. I feel like, My Way Usher, 97 Usher is like when my hormones came on for the first time. And then like there was a reboot in 2004 with Confessions.
Yep. I was just about to say that.
Because I could actually do stuff in Confessions.
And it was legal.
And I was grown, and I didn't have to explain myself to nobody.
Yeah.
But Drew Hill, 112 was just there for all the heartaches, the first loves, the first breaks, you know what I'm saying? Part 3 in particular was important for me because it was my junior year of high school, and there was this song called Player. And one of my best friends, I followed the Hollywood script. I fell in love with my best friend. Yeah. And he was like, I love you so much, but I need you to listen to this song and see why we can't be together.
Man, that hurts.
It hurt, but at the same time, it was like, oh. Everything's so serious when you're a teenager, man. You feel everything on 10, 50, 11 million when you're a teenager. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man.
But but I mean, like, So they are just they just been there to kind of be my soundtrack to my emotional spectrum.
Mm-hmm. And then when you get out of it, you're just like, man, I was so dumb.
I was dumb, and then you kind of just like, what was I thinking? What? Why? Why did I feel? Why did I feel these things? How, with you of all people?
I know it.
I'm just saying, but
So we're not gonna break out any diaries or nothing like that. We're just gonna.
Man, I scared myself with my high school diary, man. Like, I found my diary from 1998 to 2004. Like, I saved it. It was my high school diary up to my sophomore year of college. And some of it I couldn't understand. I couldn't even read my own stuff. I'm like, what was I saying? And then some of it was just like, Jesus, I felt like this was such a big deal. That teenage anxiety thing was real, honey. I documented everything.
Wow.
This person didn't speak to me. This person did. What's wrong with her? Why she feel like I'm trying to holler at him? I don't like him. Everything. But yeah. I documented when people stole CDs from my CD book.
Dang.
Yeah. I was like, you stole my... I would also like to put as an honorable mention Jagged Edge. Especially J.E. Heartbreak. Was another.
Man, you haven't missed anything. Like, you get every single detail, it seems like.
I got everything.
Everything.
Which I guess would help me because I'm a writer. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't really think about it at the time, but even thinking back on it with my grandparents, they were like, you've always been a writer. You've always written down everything. You've always written down your responses, how you feeling, how so it's helped me out, not only as an academic, but also as a creative writer. And being able to find the language to speak to these things.
Man, now you're speaking your life on the Speak Your Life podcast.
Speaking my life, see what I'm saying? It all comes, it all
full
works
circle.
out. It all full circle. Indeed,
right.
indeed.
And so, just like when you, what was that moment that you feel like, man, I'm meant to be a writer. God put me on this earth to be a writer. What was that moment? I don't know. Was there a realization, or were there a series of moments where that happened? Or?
It's interesting because, my grandma would tell you that I knew that I was a writer at 10. Because, Albany unfortunately had a really massive flood in 1994. And, it was my thing to come and visit my grandparents for the summer. So I came to Albany the summer of '94, and my grandparents wanted me to see what was going on, because so many things that we have done, it was closed. Like the Y was closed, like all these places were closed, and I'm just like, I'm 10, I can't quite function. Like, well, why don't they just clean up the water and keep it moving? Like, you know. So I'm like, you know, so they're taking me around all these parts of Albany, you know, and they're just like, this happened. They let me talk to people. I'm like, well, what happened, and how do you feel? And so then I would come home and write it all out. Like my grandma would tell you, I'll be on this big typewriter, this old school granddad typewriter that my and was just typing, tap, 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 tap. And she was like, you wrote like 50 pages that summer.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, word? She was like, yeah, you used all my good paper. I said, well, I'm sorry. And then, you know, in high school, I knew I was a creative in high school, but I was doing poetry. Like, I thought I was a poet.
You can spit?
Poet. No. Don't have me out here. I would write out my poetry, you know what I'm saying? And that was like my thing. I dabbled in playwriting, like short stories, and in college I did spoken word.
Wow.
And then graduate school happened, and all that went out the window. They were like, we don't care if you were creative or not. You're gonna learn how to write academically. And then, you know, I lost my edge. I feel like I lost my voice. And then I finished my PhD, and I started doing exercises because of this book called The Artist Way. And The Artist Way was like, you need to do morning pages. And I'm like,
okay.
I just finished dissertating. I don't want to write nothing. He was, you know, it was like just 3 pages a day. It doesn't have to be something, you know, for weeks, all I said was, I don't know what to write. Like, for 3 pages, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. Yeah. And then finally, like maybe like a month later, this short story idea popped in my head. Yeah. And I started to write it, and it was horrible. I'm like, this is horrible. But it felt so good to write creative again. I was like, ooh.
It's come back.
It's come back. It's exactly.
Like that moment when Thor gets his hammer back.
Yeah. And I'm just like, oh. And it's just like, I mean, like, I call my creative voice like my Gina May voice, because Gina May is my nickname from Albany. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I see some folks call me Gina May, you know what I'm saying? But, like, I know if you know me for real, if you call me Gina May, I'm like, oh, we from the Benny. We know each other. You know what I'm saying? And she's my Gina May voice, and she's been loud and demanding, and, you know, she grew up the same way I grew up, you know? She's like, and I'm not going to be silenced anymore after that. So then I challenged myself. I was like, all right, I wrote this crappy 15-minute, you know, short story. I think it was like 5,000 pages. 5,000 words, not 5,000 pages. 5,000 words.
5,000 pages.
It was 5,000 words, and then I was like, okay, so let me keep trying to work it out. And all of a sudden, I started writing these stories. Like, these stories just started coming to mind, and a lot of them had a lot of kernel of truth, because I'm one of those creative writers. I think that your life influences how you creatively engage. You know what I mean? So, me growing up in the Benny was such a significant experience for me as a military brat. First of all, like, it was my first place I actually took root. You know what I mean? That Albany became a character for me. It was like, you know, how do you describe it? Nobody was talking about Albany. Everybody was talking about Atlanta, or, you know, whatever. And I'm just like, I ain't from there. I don't want to be from, like, I don't want to try to fake represent. You know what I mean? I'm a Southwest Georgia girl, and I'm proud of that. Like, you know, it's hard coming up in Southwest Georgia, especially as a black kid. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Albany's not exactly known for thriving. You know what I mean? Like, you have high unemployment rates. Like, our unemployment rates are usually double what the state is. You know what I mean? Like, we have high HIV/AIDS rates. You know, I think we're one of the fastest growing cases, I think, in the United States. High teenage pregnancy rates. You know, you're not supposed to get out. You know what I mean? And like, all of these things made me think about how hard my folks really worked for me to stay out the streets, how hard my folks really worked for me to see my potential. And I feel like it does a disservice to what they invested in me to not make that part of how I write, not make that about how I think. You know what I mean? So I started writing, and then the next thing I know, I have these 12, 13 stories that become Boondock Collage. And I'm kind of proud of it.
Yeah, which you can find on Amazon. That's a plug.
Yeah, appreciate you. You know, and then I was like, okay, I can do short stories. What about a novel? So then one of the stories that I wrote just kept standing out to me in terms of this can be extended. And that's what I'm currently working on, which is called The Ghosts Come Home. And it's about a black boy that goes missing in Southwest Georgia, and he watches his family try to search for him. And what does that mean? What does that look like? You know, how does community come together? How does family come together? How does family come apart? You know what I mean? With something as big as this, with trauma like this. So just trying to give voice, man. Like, you know what I mean? You know, one of my favorite writers, thinkers ever is Zora Neale Hurston. I say she's the patron saint of country black girls like me. You know what I mean? And she did it all. She did academic writing. She did creative writing. She did reflection. She did memoir. And I just feel like if she can do it, why can't we?
Yeah.
Why can't us? Why can't us, for real? Like, why can't I? And I just utilize that and just stay in my lane, man. I don't have to know what everybody else is doing. That's the one thing I think, you know, you talking about the why. The why for me is representing for the South. Because people who aren't from the South can't tell me what it's like to be Southern. In addition to that, you know, white folks in the South can't tell me what it means to be black and Southern. It's a totally different experience. But if you look at popular culture, if you look at everything, it's like, oh, everybody, you know, has Southern the same way. And, you know, I am Southern, and majority of my friends are Southern, and we're like, yeah, we know about white folks, but they wasn't the center of our existence as much as they tried. We was like, nah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I mean, ultimately, that's what I want to do too, is to reshape how we think about black Southernness. You know, following in the lines of somebody like a Kiese Layman out of Mississippi, or Jasmine Ward out of Mississippi. You know what I mean? Like, the way that they put on for Mississippi is the way that I want to put on for Georgia.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So I'm working on it. It's a whole thing. But you know, I got this daytime job.
And the podcast too.
You know what I'm saying? So it's.
Man.
Yeah, I feel pulled in a lot of directions, but I'm thankful that I still have those multiple directions to be pulled in. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. And so how do you feel like I guess since just as an academic professor at Kennesaw State, how do you feel like your writing has, or just what you do, your work has influenced some other ladies in your class, or young women who want to aspire higher to, you know, become a good writer? How do you think you and just staying in your lane have influenced them?
I mean, I feel like there's room at the table to eat. That's what I try to tell the folk coming up behind me. That's what I tell my students, man. It's like, you know, you ain't got to, you know, if you can't find a table to sit at, make your own table.
Yep.
And I feel like Southerners have made our own table. There's so much room here for folks to come and sit down and eat and experience, because it's the same thing that I see in my academic writing is what I think about in my cultural writing. It's like, you know, the South's not a monolith. Everybody in the South don't experience it the same. Even in Georgia, what I experienced growing up in Albany is probably different than you coming up in Atlanta, than, you know, somebody coming up in Columbus, somebody coming up in Rome. You know what I mean? So
definitely.
There's room, and I just pull up and eat. Like, that's ultimately what I want to be like, is pull up and eat. Like, we're not in competition with each other. You know what I'm saying? I don't have time to be in competition with you. Because I'm too busy over here trying to see my vision come to life. Like, if you're focused on what you're being called to do, what is you know, like I tell my students, is like, it's tugging at your spirit. You know what I'm saying? If it's tugging at your spirit, that means it's something that you need to be doing. A good friend of mine, Dr. Kiana Cutts, is like, the thing that's keeping you up at 3 a.m. isn't anxiety, it's your passion.
I like that.
Yeah, man, she's smart. I love her. Her from Alabama.
Southern smart women.
Southern smart, man. We out here, you know. And I've really been like thinking on that for the last couple of days and last couple of weeks and months. It's like, yeah. It's like the things that keep you up at night is not you being anxious. It's what's being called for you. Like, my characters keep me up at night. They like, you got some writing to do. You can't ignore us for so long, right? So there's that aspect of it that I'm really trying to instill in my students, especially my creative students, and trying to like explain to them, man, there's more than one way to be creative too. It's like, you know what I mean? It took me a long time to be like, I'm a creative writer. I just felt like I didn't earn that title, be a creative writer.
Talk about that, like the distinction between just a writer and somebody who's just a creative writer. Talk about that.
I mean, I didn't feel like I was a creative writer because I didn't feel like I had the receipts that so many folks who dedicate their life, like folks in the MFAs and all that, like, oh no, that's a creative writer. It wasn't until I did Boondock Collage and actually completed the whole book that I'm like, nah, you a writer? You a writer? You know, and especially in something like the academy, you know what I'm saying? You know, where that is your bread and butter is, do you write? Can you write well? Do you know what everybody else is writing? Yeah. So I mean, like, you know, it's like a landmine in my head in terms of, you know, how do I maneuver between these expectations of me as an academic and my personal expectations of me as a creative thinker, creative engager. And for me, I just had to realize and come to grips with the fact that I can't separate the two. Like, I can't separate my narrative from my research. And when I finally realized that, that's when the stumbling blocks started to move out the way.
Yeah. Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's great. And so, do you feel like, I don't know, do you want to stay as a professor, or do you feel like maybe one day you'll be like that old lady just like writing a bunch of books and bestsellers, New York Times bestsellers? Do you feel like that's, I don't know, where you're heading? Or
I mean, I feel like that'd be great. Yeah. But I also feel like part of my calling is to teach. I feel like part of my calling is to make room for these amazing young folks on the come up behind me in the ways that, you know, my own mentors and older friends made the way for me. So I feel like this is part of the work. This is part of the experience. It's not like Highlander. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, you know, there only must be one. Yeah. There should be multiple. And I feel like that's my job. I feel like that's my job as a professor, is to make room for, you know, these students, these amazing young talents that are coming up. One, who probably were told that they're not young, amazing talents. Like, that's my job, man, is to feed into, you know what I mean? Like, pour into the folks coming up behind me. So that they can continue that tradition. Because for me, that's what it means to be Southern. You know what I mean? Like, to be Southern means to establish community, to uplift, to support. At least that's what I was taught was meant to be in the South. You know what I mean? And I want to make sure that I extend that legacy and tradition. So
yeah, because the South is all about tradition. That's a big thing.
Yeah, you're right.
But how do you go about creating new traditions and making spaces for new traditions in a day and age where there's so much change? You have women empowerment, you have a lot of things going, and how do you go about helping to embrace traditions? Because I think people from other regions outside the Southeast make, you know, traditions, they demonize them, and they say, oh man, they're just all about traditions. Now there's two extremes to that. There's, you know, one where there's like, oh man, I hate traditions, right? Because they've, you know, been such a, I don't know, thorn to my side. Or you have the other part where, you know, people are too traditional and they don't know how to engage or even think of a new tradition to start that can help enhance their lives, their communities, and stuff like that.
I really think it's just on the creative. The creative hits folks differently, you know what I'm saying? But in terms of tradition, I don't think that the South will ever get away from it, because in the South, we never think about things in a flat way. Like, we're always revisiting the past, you know what I'm saying? And how you revisit the past usually dictates how you think about the present and the future. So in terms of, like, establishing new traditions, it's important to understand where folks coming from, where these things are rooted, right? Like, I think that's ultimately what it is, and then being able to remix it to speak to your individual experience without losing sight of the understanding that your individual experience is part of this larger experience that you're also a part of. So
wow. And so navigating as a professor, as a podcast host, as an author, you have all these hats. And you're a wife, you're a mother, you have all these hats that you
I'm gonna claim him today. Hi, Roy.
Shout out to Roy.
Love you, babe.
So I gave her I gave you that T-shirt earlier, the Speaking Life T-shirt, and you were talking about how your husband steals your swag.
Yeah, he does, and without any kind of disappointment or anything, he's just like, just go ahead and cough it up.
That's real love.
That's marriage.
I'll get to that point. I might have to take a few notes from you on that one.
Yeah, it's a process, man. Me and marriage is a process, man.
Yeah. Wow. So, just navigating all those different things, those different parts of your life. How do you? Because I remember in another podcast episode, you talked about the self-care, self-love.
Oh yeah.
That was so good. And I was driving by. What was it? That new restaurant. Can't think of the name of it. Not Atlanta Green.
Oh, Local Green.
Yes, Local Green.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Shout out to Big Zach.
I need to go by and pay him a visit.
Yeah, man, it's good over there. It's good. All that food is wonderful.
And so, like, how do you guys? How do you focus on just focusing on yourself, and not in a selfish way, but just like trying to better yourself and fill your cup so that you can pour out to others, and being an author, being a professor, being a mother, being a wife. How do you do that?
I'll be honest with you. It's an ongoing process. Being in my mid-30s has forced me to realize that I'm not Superwoman. Like, stuff breaks down.
Wait, what? You're not Superwoman?
I know, man. You know what I mean? It's self-care for me is an act of defiance. Like, you know, in the academy, they expect you to burn yourself out. They expect you to wear yourself out to the point where you have nothing left. You know what I mean? And then you're disposable. Like, I had to realize that. So then I started thinking about like what brings me joy, what makes me happy. You know, to the point where I had to literally change how I work. You know what I mean? Like taking the weekend off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like for real.
Like for real. Like, you know what I mean? Just, you know, mindlessly scrolling on Facebook on Sunday morning is my thing. Or, you know, sleeping in with my husband. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Getting my nails done every 2 weeks. That's my thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's good to have that.
I mean, like you need some kind of outlet. When I remember to, I journal. Like it doesn't have to be some huge, fancy, expensive thing that you get back to yourself. You know, I know my husband thinks it's weird, but like when I get home from work, I don't like turning on. I like the quiet. I just like to sit there and reset. And that helps, right? I just kind of like just figuring out. One, you need to figure out and be honest with yourself. Like, what is it that you need? You know what I mean? Like, what are your limitations? The scariest thing I've ever done in my life is saying no. You know what I'm saying? As a black woman, I'm not supposed to say no.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And I started saying no, and then I started getting anxious because I'm like, well, I'm saying no, so maybe they're not gonna let me do anything else. You know, this is the one time opportunity. It's never the one time opportunity. It kind of reminds me like when I was in third grade. Like the Jacksons biopic that comes on VH1, like every weekend. Well, it came out in '92, and I was in third grade. And I was like, you know, it came on at 9:00.
Okay.
My bedtime was 9:00.
Nope.
And my grandma was like, it's time for you to go. It's time to go night-night. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is the only time this is gonna come on. I can't go to school and everybody else get to watch the Jacksons movie, and I can't watch the Jacksons. Like, I was so mad at my grandmother. Like, grandma, you ruining my life. Like, before my teenage, it was like, come to find out, 20-something years later, it comes on every other weekend, just like The Color Purple, just like Set It Off. It come on, and I always laugh like, man, this was such a big deal. And I'm like, it's kind of like that, like it's gonna come back around. You know, and to borrow from the church real quick, you know what I mean? If it's meant for you, it's gonna hit you regardless. Like, it's gonna find you regardless. And I think, you know, you talk about like finding the why for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, your why can't be somebody else's. Like, you can't be out here like, oh, I want to do this to upstage whoever, or to, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not gonna sit here and lie like I didn't do that before. Like, you know, but when I really kind of figured out this is what I really want to do. This is what I really enjoy. All the doors started opening.
Yeah.
The podcast happened. The Harvard Fellowship happened. Like, my purpose is to speak to the truths and existences of Southern Black folks, period. And some folks might not understand that because they ain't from here, and I'm good with that. Like, once you become good with that, and once you become good with saying no, that's when everything starts to open up for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. That was a long-winded answer, but you know.
I like it. No, that's true, and it's honest, and that's what I really appreciate about what you do, because
thank you.
You don't hold back, you don't apologize.
I'm too old to apologize, man. Like, you know how the old folk be like, keep living.
Yeah,
that's where I'm coming from. That's how I feel like I'm trying to keep living.
man, and so, you know, we in this podcast we talk about, like, life is a house, and so you got all these things going on when you build your house, and you got to understand the proper foundation to put it on, because a lot of times people, they don't either know their values, they don't know their foundation, and they get swept away in the wind, they get swept away in the storms of life. And how do you, or really, what is your house built on? What is the foundation? It could just be one thing.
I'm a very strong believer in, well, two things. I'm a really strong believer in the ancestors. I feel like they paved the way. They paid for me to go forward, and to not go and be my best self is a slap in the face to them and their sacrifice. That's part of it. Also, love, man. I know that sounds like a pageant answer, but I'm serious. It's like, you know, I'm so thankful for my career that I have, but my family and friends, that's who keeps me grounded. That's who keeps me lifted. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the love, like, I'm still fortunate to still have my grandmother in my life. You know what I'm saying? And that's such a big part of my foundation. I have friends who I've been friends with since I was 5, 10, and we're still close, and now we have kids, and, you know, we're auntie and uncle, whoever, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, like, that's just so much more important to me than this whole idea of, you know, what folks think about, like, success. They think about material stuff. But I mean, like, you know, if all of that gets stripped away, if something was to happen to me health-wise, mentally, you know, God forbid it, but if something happened to, like, you know, I still have family and love and faith to rely on in ways that I can't rely on anything else. So that's what I remind myself is, like, you know, my friends and family come first. Like, my husband comes first. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, folks like, y'all been, like, we've been married for 10 years in July. We've been a couple for 16. It's like, what are y'all doing? I'm like, well, today. But I'm like, he's my best friend. We laugh, we talk. I'm not saying that we're perfect. Like, we argue, but I mean, like, ultimately at the end of the day, we can laugh together. We can laugh at ourselves together. You know what I'm saying? We have love to fall back on. And I need that. For me, that's success. Is that I have so many people who love on me and pour love into me that it keeps me going. It keeps me going, and I try to, you know, give that out to keep that going too.
I got the bottom of that chai tea. Ooh, that was sweet. Just like what you said.
Oh, thank you.
But so now we have come to the question of the day.
Okay.
We asked a random off-the-cuff question.
Sure.
And that one is, what lyrics could you spit right now for our audience from one of your favorite Outkast songs?
Oh no, on the spot. I can give you the chorus in due time.
Okay, that works.
Struggle is just a part of my day. Many obstacles have been placed in my way. I know the only reason that I make it through is because I never stop believing in you. Sometimes I don't want to be here in the first place. They can't believe it because they ain't never seen your face.
Hey, that's good.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you.
All right. Well, I just want to say thank you again so much
for having me. This was fun.
And I really appreciate you taking the time to, come here.
No doubt.
Urban Grind. Shout out to Urban Grind.
Yep, down here in the A. They actually got good coffee, y'all. Don't taste burnt.
They really do. Yes. The chai tea is really sweet. Really,
it's bomb,
really
though.
sweet.
It's bomb.
It is. It's amazing. So you can follow Regina and Christina by subscribing to their podcast, Bottom of the Map.
Yep.
And it's on all streaming platforms
Yeah,
like
or you
Stitcher.
can just go to bottomofthemap.media.
Yeah.
Just go from there. Yeah.
Exactly. There we go. Any last words?
Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? The world's too dark enough as it is. Just spread love and light, y'all. I mean, it's just that simple.
Oh, amen. There we go.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for joining us on today's episode. Be sure to subscribe to the Speak Your Life podcast right now, whether you're on Spotify, Google Play, or if you're on Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave a review if you connected with anything from today's message. And if you have any questions, comments, or just want to hit us up, you can find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Speaker LYFE, because life without your Y is meaningless. Thank you guys. I love you guys, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Y'all be easy.
All right.